Radio with Julia and Philip Siracusa, sponsored by Carnation, airing live on the United Public Radio Network on 105.3 FM in New Orleans. This show's entrance has been edited, produced, and directed by Gwen Clapper from Perfect Trust Productions, LLC. You can find us at perfecttrustproductions.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Monday night segment of Horsefly Chronicles Radio with myself, Julia Siracusa, and Phil Siracusa. We're broadcasting live from the United Paranormal Radio Network on 105.3 FM and 107.7 FM from New Orleans. We're also live on Roku, so you guys can watch us live streaming from your TV. We want to thank Carnation for their sponsorship. And you'll have to do a few things in order to participate in chat. Go over to YouTube, UFO Paranormal Radio. You can go into all of the Facebook stations, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, UFO Undercover with Joe Montaldo, News on the Flip Side, Twitch, SoundCloud, Podbeam, and of course, go into our group, Horsefly Chronicles Radio. And if you have any questions for our guests, please ask. So tonight, guys, we have another amazing guest. Please welcome Beth O'Brien. She is a psychic medium and a paranormal investigator and a Reiki master. She's also an ordained minister. She stepped away from her regular job as a medical assistant after 20 years to use her gifts full-time to help others heal. You can find out all about her on her website, spiritualhealingwithguidance.com. So please let's welcome her to the show.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on today. So, Beth, what we usually do, take us from like the beginning of your story. What was your first paranormal experience that really kind of like, pushed you into researching the paranormal more?
Well, it started a long time ago. It started probably when I was about 4 or 5 years old. I saw my first spirit, and it was my great grandfather. He was laying on the couch, and my mom said, "No, you're not seeing anything. He died way before you were born." And I'm like, "Well, why is he laying there?" And back then, it was a long time ago. I'm going to be 56 in July, so. Back then it was like, you're not seeing anything, And then as a child, I was afraid of it, because no one could explain it to me. It's not like now how social media is to where everything's more acceptable and everything is more open, And then I guess when I was 11, we moved to this place in Tabernacle, New Jersey, and it has a lot of Native American burial ground there. And I saw a little Native American girl at the edge of my bed. And, once again, I screamed for my dad. He came in. He's like, "There's nobody in your room." So I was always afraid to be in the dark. I always thought there was something in my room because I could hear things and feel things, but there was never anything there human wise,
Yeah.
So that's how it got started. And then, through the years, like I said, I never understood it, but I never understood like anything or nothing made sense to me. I knew there was something else out there, but it couldn't be explained. No one could explain it to me. And then probably in my 20s, early 30s, I found a mentor, and then all the shows came on TV, Ghost Hunters and all that I knew there was something more out there than what meets the eye, so to speak, And then I actually ended up taking psychic development classes because to bring up my confidence and self-esteem, and that's how I also got into the paranormal.
Yeah,
so that's how
it always starts when we're young. That's where and then that's right, Phil.
Yeah, that's usually the case through adolescence.
So what made you take a step back from your career as a medical assistant to really put your everything into this?
Yeah. I guess the call got too great because I'm also an ordained minister. And I've done at least 10 weddings. I've done christenings. An end-of-life death doula. I work with hospice to help people have a good death. It's called, to help them to cross over. You know how there's a beginning of life doula for babies?
Yeah.
Well, there's an end-of-life death doula. And then I'm also a certified hypnotist. I do past life regressions and inner child healing. And like I said, I think the call got too great not to help people and say, like, well, let me look further into this and see how I can help, even more people.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Have you had any experiences being in the field that you were in the medical field? Have you seen people cross over in front of you?
Well, I worked in OBGYN, so not many people, I didn't see that side of it there, but I just learned how to, communicate with people, and being an empath and intuitive, women especially, they would just like talk to me for hours, and I'm like, oh, I got to get out of the room because the doctor's coming in. They would just talk and talk and talk and talk. So, but yeah, I didn't see much death working with OBGYN because it's, mostly
Okay.
good stuff,
What about hospice? Because you said you worked with hospice, right?
Yeah, I've actually I work with families more because I'm independently, contracted. So I work with the family, and because this one family, we're like 45 minutes from Long Beach Island. That's how, in New Jersey. So a family had reached out to me, and they knew what I did, being the psychic medium. And so I went down there and I, did Reiki and helped with that. And then it was their mother that was dying, and she had in-house hospice in their house. And she was already, the spirit is last to leave, the spirit leaves first and waits for the body to die. And she was already, they were open to it. And the mother was already communicating with me from the other side, from heaven, which was very interesting. I never experienced that. That was probably like, I'm going to say 5 years ago that happened, which was interesting. So like the mother was already communicating about what kind of music and how she liked her hair, and here the body didn't die yet. Yeah, it was very fascinating.
So she was really still alive. That's what you're saying. And like, she was like a little bit half and half.
Yeah, she wasn't clinically dead yet.
Wow. Phil, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, and then for some reason I've just been with a lot of people. I end up where they're, been there when they actually do die. So I'm like, well, this must be some type of a calling, to help people, So that's why I don't know. I know people say, well, how can you do that? I don't know. There's just something, I don't know if it's fairly comforting to me just to be able to help people as they're crossing over.
Yeah, well, I think you're just like a natural born healer. It's just who you are.
Yeah, it's like always been there. Yeah.
Let me see who's in. Lena, hi, Lena. We have some people in chat.
Oh, hi, Lena.
Neil.
Hi.
Hi.
Neil, do you have any?
Yeah, of course. I have a lot of questions. Are you ever at the scene of when the person does die?
Yes.
And when you're at the scene with your abilities, do you feel at any point in time another presence in the room?
Yeah, I feel a presence, but it's more of a higher power presence.
Okay.
Like it's almost like, that's where they're going. The body leaves from the head, the spirit leaves from the head when it dies. So that's, and they, proven that the brain is the last to go, so they can hear you, even though you're talking to them, they can still hear you. And yeah, so yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's like, you can almost, sometimes I can see, like, if their mother or their father spiritly was there, they'll stand at the head of the body and you can feel them with them. So I think that's why it's more comforting to me, because I know that they're there, their loved ones are that have gone on before them, or they're waiting for them. But sometimes people aren't into that, what I do, so it's like, it's a fine line. If they're into it, then I'll explain what's going on. If not, I'll just be there to comfort the family and the person that's crossing over.
So you see other people sometimes when that person crosses over in the room, other spirits?
Family members, yeah.
How do you see them?
Like, I kind of like, in my mind's eye, it's not like I don't like see them like I see you and me. I just see them like, you know, like
Right.
spirit wise. I see them. Yeah.
Okay, so it's a mental image, and you
Mhm.
see like a role play of the image of the person coming through in that room, right?
Correct. Yeah. It's like movie bits and pieces of movies. Like when I do readings, they just show me like, for instance, like when I'm doing the reading, the person that's sitting there getting the reading and they're communicating with their loved ones that have crossed over, like all of a sudden they'll like show me a duck spirit. And that won't mean anything to me, but it'll mean something to that person sitting there. Something as simple as that. You know, like a memory like, oh, we used to always feed the ducks together or something like that. It'll make sense to them, but not to me.
Yeah.
So again, with your abilities, and I do believe what you're saying because I know these experiences. And what about if the person's ready to cross over, but the family is like atheist, they don't believe there's an afterlife? I know you probably just keep it to yourself. But then
Yep.
where does truth come in? Where does the truth of humanity come in such a way that you know what's happening, you know who's coming to get them? And is there any way that you would try to prove it or you would just ignore it?
Well, here's the thing. A lot of Jewish people just feel like, and I believe in everybody and everyone and I'm spiritual, so I believe in
Yes.
everything. Like I always tell people, you know how we all live on this earth, but we all drive different cars. You know,
Yes.
so and that's how I explain to them. Wherever you think we go, I believe there's a heaven. But there's all religions up there. You know, everybody's religion but we all go to the same place, but we all have different beliefs. You know, and it depends if they know what I do and they accept what I do and they're open to it. Then we could go in more into detail with them as their loved ones crossing over. But if not, I have to just keep it to myself because then they'll get more upset. You know, they won't be like, no, and I don't want to upset them. I'm there to help comfort them in some way.
And from your work and your beliefs, do you believe there is a heaven?
Yes. I believe that we go somewhere. Yeah, I believe in heaven. When I was growing up, my mom was Catholic and my dad was Baptist. You know how that worked. It didn't. So it was like, we go to church, on holidays. So I truly had to find my own, not necessarily religion, but spiritual beliefs or something, that made sense to me. And yes, I do believe that we all go to the same place. I'll call it heaven, but energy and vibration is real. It doesn't end with us. It goes somewhere. Can I prove it? No, I don't think anybody can prove it. It's just a belief system and a faith, what you believe in.
Yeah.
We'll find out when we cross over.
That's
Go ahead.
Well, it's very interesting you say that. And certain religions don't believe that you can communicate with people who have crossed over. They say those are demons that you're talking to and you're being fooled. No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that, but certain religions do believe that. And I take religion out. Sorry, but me personally, I would take religion out. I know there's a high vibration. We go on to an existence of abundance, of the true essence of who we really are, the love of who we are.
Yeah.
And when it comes to so many religions, well, there's some pretty crazy stuff out there in the belief system of, kill so many people and you'll go to see, this and that and all this garbage. No, I'm not buying into anybody's belief system. I believe that we go on because we're energy, right? Energy cannot be created or destroyed, and we go on to a higher and faster vibration in essence. So I like what you do, and it gives people that
Thank you.
That help of the crossing process.
Yeah.
Now, you also said earlier about past lives. Let's talk about that, right, Joel? How do you get into a person's mind and bring them into a past life?
Well, that's where I'm also a certified hypnotist. So I do past life regressions and inner child healing. So being hypnotized is only a guided meditation. Not everybody can be hypnotized. If you can meditate, then you can be hypnotized most of the time. Because a lot of time we walk around in our monkey mind or conscious mind, right? When we meditate, we get to our subconscious mind, and also that's where we connect to our higher self, and that's where we get answers. And that's where also you can connect with spirit. So I have to, when I take you into a guided meditation, I'm talking to you the whole time and I'm asking you questions. I'm just making you relax and making you breathe, till we get there. Because a lot of people think, oh, my past life, I must have been bad, so that's why I'm having karma in this life. It's not necessarily true. All past lives are not bad, okay? But people, they owe karma, they must have think they've done something wrong, which isn't true. So what happens is when I'm doing a past life regression for somebody, I ask questions. I ask them, like, after I get them, in a meditation, I start talking to them like, take them down this trail to a path, into a boat. And I ask, can you tell me what year it is? I start asking questions. If you can't answer my questions, I turn it into an inner child healing. It's not the past lives that need healing. It's this life that needs healing. And then it turns into an inner child healing instead of a past life. So then I'll take you to, like, you were born age 3. I make you like actually go in and hug that person at age 3 to heal that person and say, I love you. Then we go to age 6 on up to however old you are. So a lot of times it's this life that needs healing, not a past life.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. What's the records, the Hall of Records? What's that called, where our life is written out on the other side?
Akashic records?
Yes. What's your thoughts
that's what
on
so it keeps changing every now and then, it keeps evolving and changing. We never master the spiritual stuff, we're always learning and growing, but apparently it's supposed to be like our life is etched out for us. We made some type of deal, right? But as humans, we get off course, we do this and we do that, and we don't, do what we're supposed to do. So, and then that's what happens. But they say it is etched out for us. Do we really know that? I don't know. That's what we're told. I've never had spirit come through from, hell, so to speak. They never come through that way. I don't believe in hell. I don't believe there's a hell. I believe everybody goes to heaven. I believe that there's, what do they have to answer to somebody, a higher being, when they get there? Possibly. Do they have to go through schooling when they get there? Possibly. But because we leave when we die, we just leave all this human stuff. Everything goes away. We just leave it here, and we're all just pure love and light. So when we get to there, I truly believe in what Spirit tells me, because people come to me and they say, oh, is my mom mad at me because this happened? I didn't, she didn't like her funeral. I don't know. But they're not. The truth is, they're never mad at us once they cross over. All they know is pure love. Mm-hmm. So, they know what they did here, how they acted here on this earth, and how they treated people. And then when they get to heaven, it's, they're all love. Like people say, oh, I didn't know my dad. Why would he come through, or this or that. And, and it seems like they're more of assistance to us and can be our spirit guides in heaven than they were here on earth, because how they live their life here on earth. So they're like, oh, well, did my dad love me? I'm like, well, yeah, he loves you now, and he can be more of assistance and be more like a spirit guide to you, and that seems to help people knowing that, Yeah.
What would you say if a person was really, really bad in their life? I mean, like real bad, like a murderer or some, really evil person. I mean, because I always believe that if you're not, if you're a bad person in life, you're probably not going to be a great person in the afterlife. So what is your input on that?
Well, like I said, like a little while ago, the hell, we leave all this behind. This is a shell. The human part of us is gone. They know what they did and what they didn't do. And they're like, they go at heaven. When they get to heaven, it's like they're redeemed. They just, I believe that they go through some type of counseling when they get there and know what they did and what they didn't do, how they treated people. I mean, I I haven't read anybody who was a murderer yet because they're probably in jail, I hope. But, so they still show me that they go to heaven. No one has a spirit, and maybe they don't want to show me that spirit. They've never showed me that they've come from hell. So that's why whoever they need to answer to when they get there up to heaven, then that's what they have to do. But our journey is our own, and we don't have, like I always tell people, we don't have all the answers until we cross over. And then we get the answers.
That is true.
Yeah.
We have, let's see. Can you hear clearly? Terry Atkins, can you hear clearly? I missed that one.
She probably wants, well, if I'm clairaudient.
Oh, yeah.
That was one. Yeah, sometimes I can hear clairaudient. That means you can hear, with your ear, like in a room. Sometimes I can hear. That's not one of my strongest clairs. I'm more clairsentience, claircognizance. I know things, I feel things, I sense things.
Okay. I mean, it's just so crazy. I mean, what about when you're investigating? Have you been to a location that's really, have you ever not felt good being anywhere? Anything negative?
Well, yeah, we do historical places to help raise money. And I do private homes. People say, oh, my house is haunted. Can you come out? This is happening. Things are moving. I do house cleansings and house blessings. They're all free. I do them for free. I try to keep with the Casper for the friendly ghost investigations, but I have assisted in 2 exorcisms. They are real. Okay. If something is, that's why I used to belong to 2 different teams, and there was like a lot of paranormal drama. So, there's only like me and my boyfriends who are like free agents. We go, where we're needed, or, we help people, or we just go ourselves. But if there's something that's that negative, I won't even be able to walk into the house. Okay. That's when I would have to call like the B team and say the people that deal with strictly demonic and negative things, because it's real. And we did find out.
Sure is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So wait, I have to jump in here. In. Okay. You said you don't believe in hell.
Right.
Right? Okay.
Well, I said I don't believe we go there.
Okay. So then if we don't go to hell, do you believe in demons?
Sure, yes.
So a demon can oppress/possess a person in the physical realm?
99.9% of the time, you create your own negative energy or your own negative entity by the life you're leading. That's why we have like 50 questions we ask people. Either they're, I need to know if you're on drugs. I need to know if you're on psych meds. I need to know, if you're using, the Ouija board. I need to know if you're doing spells. I need to know if you're fighting, how are you living your life? Because you can create this negative stuff in your house. Human spirits, you can't make human spirits leave. They have free will. You have to coincide with them. But when it's something negative, it's like, well, how are you living your life? And most of the time we find out, oh yeah, there's a Ouija board in the house. They dabbled in magic, and so it's a big process to figure out how they do that. But I also truly believe if you believe in your faith, like people, they wear crystals, metals, they wear essential oils. They don't work unless you believe in them. So you have to believe in your faith when you're going into something like this.
So a ghost, in your definition, what is a ghost?
A ghost is my definition is a spirit that's gone on who has crossed over. Ghosts and spirits are kind of the same thing. I think they are. But
if you said that, again, I'm playing devil's advocate with you, because these are questions I would get asked. If you believe that there's a heaven and we die and go to heaven, but you don't believe there's a hell, and then ghosts are us in such a form that we cross over, we choose not to go to heaven, we choose to be at the haunted location that you're investigating?
Well, they say you have a choice when you die, whether I don't know all the answers that they ask you. Do you want to come back or do you want to go, to heaven? And you have a choice in that matter. Sometimes they say, but I think people that spirits that haunt places, I think they come and go. I don't think that especially if they're human spirits, they just can come and go. There's residual spirits, and then there's, what is that word I'm looking for? What?
I know.
Intelligent, sorry. Yeah, intelligent spirits. Yeah. So it depends. I think we're all still learning about all this, you know?
It's fascinating. Yeah, I think it's fascinating. But then again, a skeptic would say, well, if you believe in reincarnation because you went into a person's past life, doing a past life regression, and you're investigating a house from the 1800s, and you think you're talking to that person, so they weren't reborn?
Yeah. That's a good question. Who knows? Some people don't believe in, reincarnation. Some people believe like you die. It's that's why it's paranormal, and we're never going to know all the answers. We're never going to know. People are striving, with all the equipment and that we all have and stuff. Well, I just think we're never going to have all the answers. We're never going to know. You're never going to find out exactly what's going on.
It always ends up with more
questions. I mean, it's interesting, and I try to rack my brain around that, how are you digging up a person's past life through a regression, and they're at the same location that Mrs. Jones is investigating, and they're coming through in a spirit box, and I get lost with that too, but then there's people out there that say that, well, we have it all wrong. We're multi-dimensional beings ourselves, which means that we're here in other places at the same time, simultaneously. In some retrospect, that we go on in different existences of us, and that theory kind of rings true to me in such a way.
Yeah, I don't think necessarily believe that you carry karma from a previous life into this life. I don't know. I don't necessarily doing the past life regressions or the hypnosis. I just like the Akashic records. I'm not sure I understand and believe all that either. I don't know. I think that we have different vibrations and different energies. Like you said, you can be at the same place at the same time, or just in different dimensions. But I guess we're all still learning and figuring that out.
Yeah,
it's crazy, and it's very interesting.
It is
fascinating.
It is, people that die at a young age, tragedy. Let's say you have a teenage kid and they horrifically die in a car accident or whatever, right? And you say, well, why? Is there a God? Why did it happen? And then I talk to people who go back to the records and say they've chosen that exit sign at that period of time. It kind of makes sense logically, okay, if we're going to look at it like that, but then in the physical realm, it doesn't make sense because we can't comprehend that. And that's where investigations come through, I guess, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, this is just how I feel. I truly believe when it's your turn, when your time to die, it's your time to die. If not, modern medicine or holistic medicine can save you. I believe in doctors, but I don't believe, and I don't believe in miracles. I just believe it's not your time to die. Because that's how I make sense of things. I have a lot of people that come to me whose, kids or spouses, loved ones have taken their own life, with they either addiction or a lot of with a gun or accidents, everything, and they want to know why they're so mad. I have a friend going through it now, and she's hates God right now because her 29-year-old son has cancer and he's dying, and she wants answers. And I truly believe we're not going to get the answers. But I also say, because people say, well, how can it be a kid's turn to die? Well, how can that be? And the truth is, for some reason, it just is. I know as I'm a mother of two. I know that it's hard for a parent to believe that, but for me to help people and to make sense of things, I truly believe there is a reason, but we just don't know it yet until we cross over. But I just know that, it is their time, but we just don't know why. Like I said, I don't necessarily believe in the Akashic records because I try to do, there is a past life regression that takes you to Akashic records. It was awful. I hated it. It was not, didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's there's a reason, but we won't know until we all cross over. That's our own journey to take, and when I have to be okay with that for stuff to make sense to me. You know, that's how I see things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's
yeah. I mean, again, we just end up with tons and tons of more questions.
more questions. We don't.
I'm also becoming crazy, more empathetic, and I'm psychic over the last 2 years. Okay, yes. So a lot of people have been saying this, that people are opening up more now. What do you think about that?
I agree with that. I think because everything is going on in the world with COVID and everything else, I feel like the veil between earth and spirit is getting thinner, and so many people have been sick, you know, that, and I also truly feel as we get older, we get more spiritual, you know, we're looking for the answers. So yeah, people are having these awakenings that, you know, they want to be healers, they want to do Reiki, they do yoga, whatever they can, you know, they're more empaths. Empaths, I'm sure you've heard that. Everybody's an empath, right? Especially lately. And then it actually is a diagnosis with psychiatrists and therapists, being an empath. Your vibration is higher. You feel things 10 times differently, 10 times more than people who aren't empaths. So you used to think we're crazy, you know, but you really are very more sensitive to everything.
Yeah. And everybody's opening more up to this. It's just everybody, people, like you said, doctors, and it's just different.
Well, also it's on social media, and everybody, lots of people are psychic and mediums, you know, and doing healing work. I don't know if it's because I think social media has a lot to do with it, because I think everybody's doing it. And it's a way that you don't have a 9-to-5 job, you know. More people are looking into the more of the holistic way of working, and so I think that has something to do with it also.
True.
Yeah.
Talk, Phil. You're very quiet.
Well, Joe, I don't want to take the floor over because I can go over questions all night. I was giving you your chance to ask questions, because you know me, I don't talk about once I get going. So
talk
if you want
about
me to
this forever, right? Yeah.
I mean,
so
what?
Yeah. Well, I know that we say when we die, we get the answers, right? And then I'm going to hit you. Are you afraid of death?
No, I used to be. I used to before, like, doing all this, but I like in my 20s, I would be scared to death to go past the cemetery because I was afraid something's going to happen to him. I couldn't even look at one. But now that's where I play in the cemetery. You know, that's where I go to cemeteries now. I'm not afraid. The older I get, and the more I do this work, the spirit stuff. I'm not afraid. I used to be afraid of how I was going to die. You know, I think the question is how, but I'm not afraid.
I think the more we study the paranormal, the less afraid of it we get. I mean, it is true. The more you study, the more research you do, it's going to happen, and it's everybody. And you shouldn't be afraid of it, for sure.
Yeah, it's inevitable. We're all going to do it.
It's just so many questions, because I'm going to hit you with this question. Can a person talk to a loved one who's died?
Sure. They can, they can. I mean, anybody, you can talk to them, whether they hear you, where they can't all necessarily talk back. But what happens is when, if you try, you attempt to talk to your loved one, they'll give you a feeling, like that love feeling, like, oh, I feel like mom's around. I was just thinking about her. Or, I was asking her a question, and then I got a big smile on my face. So it's that feeling of love, that love feeling that you're more getting. So that feeling makes you feel good. So you're like, oh yeah, mom's paying attention because I feel her. I feel that love. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense, especially through songs on the radio and vibration. And the thoughts that play through the mind. So let's just hypothetically say that you lose someone and you can't communicate with them through the thought process and the conscience and the subconscious, and they come through the dreams. Now let's fast forward to 40 years later. You're 90 years old. That person moved on, but you don't know they moved on. They were reincarnated. But yet, you still feel their presence. How's that possible?
Again, I feel like it's the vibration and the energy and the love. It just how do you know if that person's reincarnated? You just don't know. You know, that's
you don't know, but hypothetically speaking, if they were reincarnated, then who are you speaking to? Or are you speaking to a high vibration of them? And again, it's interesting because I get asked these questions. That's why I'm asking you and your thoughts.
Yeah.
And they're all ghosts. And I don't believe that all ghosts are bad. I mean, you know, they come and visit. Now, it's hard for someone to say, well, they leave heaven and somehow they come back here in such a way where you can see them. Is it possible? I don't know. It just seems from my knowledge of communicating with the other side as well that they chose not to cross over. The ones that can make themselves implanted in a physical realm in such a way they could do things through a poltergeist activity. They chose not to go to the light or anywhere but here. I don't believe they're stuck. I believe that they're free will. They just chose not to move on.
Yeah, I believe they say that if you believe in the Blessed Mother, Mother Mary, she can come and go as she pleases. She can walk the earth and she can go to heaven. She comes back and forth, they say, you know. So yeah, it's interesting that it really is interesting.
Well, it is, but you know what? The biblical ties of the books that were written, again, I'm not going to disrespect anybody's beliefs or religion, but people do make valid points out there on social media, and they're right. Well, those biblical times, how come the sea's not parted now? We're not hearing the echoes through the vibration of voices from the other side in such a way where they're gods. There's all these question marks of, you know, in my belief, from being an investigator, I believe that you write a book, and 1,000 years later, it's not the same book because it keeps getting translated and rewritten in such a way where it wasn't the original book.
Yeah, and you know, history is just stories told. They can't prove it, you know. So you don't know what exactly happened if you weren't there. Yeah. It's very interesting, and it's always evolving and growing, and we're always learning more and more. You never master this, you know. And no one's ever 100% right either, you know.
I agree.
So when we, you know what, interesting enough, and I believe when we go on like some paranormal investigations that I've been on, and talking about how, you know, some people are always walking around with a dark cloud above their head, okay, and sometimes when we go on investigations, like nothing will happen to me, like I won't get touched or this and that. This person that has this black cloud, they always get touched or scratched or punched or kicked. And I you know, I've been touched, at Burlington County Prison in New Jersey, but I'm never, you know, to the point where I've never got pushed. And I don't want to. I would never, but pushed down the steps. I've seen people get pulled off of things, you know. So it's just interesting. Is it because the way you're living your life, you experience more negative stuff than people who aren't? You know, I truly believe in that. You know, you create where you go that negativity.
I think it's both. It's that, and then, you know, people are just more prone to spirits than other people are. I mean, you know, like Phil, for instance, he'll walk into a location and he'll pick up that. And, you know, me, I'll get maybe half of that or one of that or none of that. It depends. Like we're all.
It's different. Yeah.
It's definitely interesting. And for the person out there listening to the show, if you are kind of skeptic, I get it. But through the years of research, through investigators and psychics and mediums and remote viewers, I can tell you that not everybody's right, but we do go on to another existence. I didn't take anybody's word for anything myself. Nobody. I don't believe anybody about anything. I just don't. But my own experiences led me to believe people. When I had experienced it myself and say, that's impossible. You can't bring science into something that, where the voice is coming from. What are you going to tell me? Airwaves? The airwaves from a radio frequency from 1,000 miles away are intelligently responding to a question I have? No, I don't buy that. I buy that these are intelligent beings, that it could be us, that have crossed over through lifetimes. It could be our ancestors. And then the biggest question to mankind, one of the biggest questions is, well, who built the pyramids? Because today they still can't prove it. They still can't do it. They still can't make the pyramid. So they obviously knew things we didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the same thing, is there a Bigfoot, especially out here, the Jersey Devil. I'm Pine Barrens is my backyard. I'm not saying there isn't, but I've never experienced it, and then I believe in everybody does it, because you just don't know. I'm not saying you're wrong and I'm not saying you're right.
I got something once in New Jersey, and everybody really thinks it could be the Jersey Devil. In fact, I'll send it to you. It's the most wildest thing I've ever seen. Right?
Wow.
You should put that clip on Facebook so people can see that. That's an amazing clip that you have there.
The best things that I've ever seen captured, and we got
You're in a cemetery, right?
Yes.
I would love to see it.
We were doing an investigation for the Legend of Prospect from Staten Island. You know that case, I'm sure. We were investigating the disappearance of Holly Ann Hughes and Jennifer Swagger. We were actually in the cemetery where she was laid to rest, and we just caught it out of nowhere. It was this big red thing that jumped, and it wasn't any of us. It was crazy.
Wow.
That was a wild one. You're right. Yeah, I definitely should put that up.
I would put it up. It's good footage. From this talk tonight, I would think that from what we're talking about, it's a belief that the past, present, and future are all connected into one. We are living it at once. And it's hard to really write that around your brain, but it's kind of a belief, because on the spirit end, there is no time. They say that time does not exist. We've created time.
Yeah, no time.
So it's definitely interesting. And I've asked spirits, where are you? And they would say, well, we're with you. We could see you, we could hear you, we could touch you, we can listen to the same music. It's just that you can't see us in such a way. It's fascinating. It is fascinating.
It really is. Yeah.
Have you had anything really evil follow you home, or an attachment, or someone else that you're with that's had an attachment that you have to?
I've personally never had an attachment, but I know people that have had an attachment and had to take them, and they had to a friend that had to kind of work it out of them. But I mean, attachments are interesting to me. I'm not sure exactly what it is, because I've never experienced, I know people they would tell me, oh, I went to this medium, they wanted $3,000 to get the attachment off of me. And I'm like, what are you, crazy? Maybe you're just having a bad day. Maybe you're just, you're negative about everything and anything that just creates this negative energy around you. I think that could be the reason. But there are people going on investigations that, yes, we had to take out of the place because they just were affected. They just went bonkers. I don't even know, but they had to be taken out of the house and, just to rest. And I don't know. I think more people are just really sensitive to the energy.
I think that's what has a lot to do with it. We've seen that. We've seen people in our home just turn from the most nicest person to like the
Yeah.
scary, very scary, very fast. So
Yeah, it is scary. I mean, they say, you know, when you go investigations, put your protection up, you know, so that, you know, whatever it is, you know, before you go into an investigation,
yeah,
especially Penhurst Asylum or one of those places, you know, where there is a lot of a
those
lot
are
of
the
stuff
places.
happen bad
Yeah,
to people. Yeah, so
those type
it's
of places
interesting.
a lot of people get attachments from.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
A person that is born into the physical realm with disabilities or missing limbs or they're deformed, do you think that has anything to do with the cosmic ties of things they've done in the past, or do you think that they've chosen to experience these things in a short period of time in the physical realm through their own soul's vibration?
That's a good question. I don't have an answer for that. I just think that's just how they were born. I don't think it's necessarily a past life or karma or anything like that. I just think there's supposed to be, you know, all kinds of people on this earth. I always say that, you know, there's no mistakes in life. There are life learned lessons, and for some reason that's how they were. Like again, we won't know. I keep saying that till we cross over to the other side, but I don't believe somebody's, you know, like you were like disabled because of like something they did in a previous life. You know, I know people say, well, why would someone chose to be like that? I don't know why. You know, like, I just know that we don't have all the answers, but I don't believe it's something that they've done in a previous life. If they are previous lives, how do you know there's not just one life? That's, yeah.
Well, because then there wouldn't be past life regression if there was one life. Then there wouldn't be
Yeah.
deja vu. Then there wouldn't be these children who say that I died on 9/11 that are coming forward now, all these years later, and they could explain where they were in that building in the World Trade Center, and they can document that. So that there is past.
That's fascinating. Yeah. But I don't believe they're disabled because of a past life.
Right. And you don't believe in hell. And if a person was to commit mass murders and kill thousands of people, you don't think that they're going to pay for that in any type of way?
Oh yeah, I believe they go to heaven, but they have to pay for it. They have to answer to somebody, a higher being. I don't know who that is, but I feel like they need. The only reason I say that because when spirit comes through, they always come from above. They always come from heaven because you know how we always say hell is the opposite way. They never come from up, and I've never like felt fire or bad. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what the hell feels like.
Okay.
You know, where heaven, you feel it's all love and light, and you know, there's peace. You know, what's that?
There are thousands of cases also where people say they've been to hell. They describe hell. Thousands of cases around the world. Now, these aren't the average Joe. These are doctors. These are scientists. These are physicists. These are people who were atheists or priests who turned bad, and they're resuscitated in such a way they go, I was pulled into the darkness. In fact, Julia and I were watching a TV episode that was back on 10 years ago, Beyond and Back, I Survived. Great show back in the day, and some of them went to heaven, some of them went to another dimension of time, and some people went to hell, and they describe hell. But maybe in your belief system, there's no hell, and you're right. And maybe in another person's belief system, there is a hell, and they're right, because also in the beginning of the show, you said something that was right, that we all drive different vehicles. And the vehicle that we're in chooses to experience or believe things in its own way.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, remember how I said, well, with like the Jersey Devil and Bigfoot, I've seen my first UFO and I was skeptical about that until I saw one. if someone comes to me for a reading or even the past life, I've just started doing, and they show me that hell and they experience and they tell me how it is and what, then I'll believe it. But I haven't come across personally anybody that has been to hell.
Well, that's a good thing. It's been a great show, right, Jill?
Yes, yes. I mean, we're
Try
coming
to
to
cover
the end
a
of
little
the
bit of
show.
everything.
I think we really did hit everything. Thank you, everybody, for joining us in chat. Thank you so much.
Hey, where can people find you and all that good stuff?
I'm on Facebook at Beth Harper O'Brien, and I'm on Instagram at Beth O'Brien. My website is www.spiritualhealing. And then that's it. That's about it. That's
Awesome.
I'm on Twitter too, but just as Beth O'Brien.
Okay.
Well,
thank you.
keep up with the great work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we just want to have a special thank you to Carnation for fully sponsoring the show from day one. We love them. And don't forget to watch us on Roku live from your TV. And please join us next week on the United Public Radio Network on 105.3 FM and 107.7 FM from New Orleans. So thank you again so much, Beth.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too.
Right, Phil,
Night.
hang on there, Phil.
Okay.
Don't leave anywhere.